Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, I'm finally settled in and I went ahead and set up this little kind of like office slash work area in my new kitchen, and I actually like it a lot better than the kitchen that I used to be in before I moved, because I can actually set up like a little workstation here and actually sit down and work, whereas in my other kitchen I had to work standing the whole day, so it kind of slowed me down. And basically what I want to talk about today is things that I wish I knew I needed. I don't know if that makes sense, but things that I wish I knew I needed when I first started baking, and in specific cakes. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to name this series yet, but I think I want to do like a series on cookies, cakes, etc. But today I want to share with you 3 or 4 things that have made my cake life easier, and whether it's a business or if you do it as a hobby, I really think that these things make cake decorating a lot easier, or at least they have for me. And I wish I knew this before I invested in things that I didn't really need, because I've been doing this for a few years. So through the years I've accumulated things that I probably haven't even used once ever, or things that I probably used once but then I figured out that I didn't really need it, so I do it a different way now. So hopefully this video is helpful, and hopefully I didn't confuse you with my introduction, because I got a little bit confused. But let me go ahead and show you the things that I think will make your cake life easier. Okay, so the first thing that we're starting with is an extra long bench scraper. Before discovering these, I used to use a spatula to go around the cake. So now if you can see, the spatula has a rounded edge, and usually the more modern cakes now, it just really depends on what you want to do. But the kinds of cakes that I like to make are with sharp, straight edges. So if you can see, this has a round edge. So when you put it onto your cake and you go around your cake, you'll have a little lip at the bottom. So you could potentially do a straight edge with this, but I'm not a pro. I didn't go to pastry school, you know, I don't have a baking degree or whatever it's called. I'm a home self-taught baker. So for me, the trick to doing this quicker and easier was finding out about this extra long bench scraper, and it doesn't have to be this one necessarily. I know that there's some companies that make these in stainless steel. I just happen to really love this one because I got it from, I don't really remember the name of the company I got it from, but I'll insert it here. And they also do the acrylic discs for guides on buttercream and ganache. But basically, the good thing about this is that both of the edges are pointy. So when you place this on your flat surface of the cake or the cake board and you start moving around, what you end up with is a straight edge. Now, I do have to say, you do have to practice a lot. It's not like you're gonna get this and you're gonna be a complete pro right away. It's gonna take a lot of practice. It takes a really good buttercream recipe, and it just takes a little bit of patience to be able to complete a straight edge with this tool here. But trust me when I tell you that this will change your cake frosting life. Do you guys say frosting or icing? I'm gonna frost my cake. I'm gonna ice my cake. Anyway, so the way this works is in conjunction with my next tool that I'm gonna talk about. Is you put it flat on the surface and you spin. So technically you should end up with a straight edge. So again, tool number 1 is a long bench scraper. Okay, so for tool number 2, I am cutting off my head a little bit because I still haven't figured out my angles and where I want to put you guys. But anyway, for tool number 2, it's gonna be a very smooth, look at that, it's not even making a noise, a very smooth turntable. So I have tried a bunch of turntables. I probably have 4, and all of them I got like from my local craft store. I got them on sale, I got them from Amazon, and they were always very I don't want to say cheap, but they're made in a way that they won't support a lot of weight. And a lot of cakes, as you progress through the years, you'll notice that you can add more layers, more great. And the refrigerator decides to turn on. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. But anyway, so you can add different layers, ganache, fillings in the middle, so your cakes will eventually be heavy. Now, a lot of the problems that I had with my other turntables, and the reason that I have so many, is that after maybe a few uses, like 5 or 6 uses of making heavy cakes, they would start to kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Bump as they turned. So they weren't smooth. And when you have, sorry I bumped you guys. But anyway, so when you have a bump on your turntable and you're trying to do a straight edge with this tool here, so when you're trying to go like this, and if there's a bump, you'll see it in your buttercream or your ganache, because your turntable is essentially what's gonna guide you to help you make a straight edge. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll explain it. So basically, when you're using these two tools together, like I explained earlier, you'll place your scraper and your turntable will essentially be the only thing that is moving. See? So I really recommend you guys investing in one of these turntables. I think I got this one on Amazon for like 30 bucks, and all my other turntables were between $10, $15, $13, $12. So I really think that you do get what you pay for, and although this one is not that expensive, I know there's more expensive turntables and turntables that have like different features, but if you're looking for like to make a small investment in something that is going to change your cake game, this is a tool worth investing in. And I'll kind of like zoom you guys in. So it's made of, it has like this little, like a rubber bottom, so it holds onto the surface so that when you're decorating, it doesn't slide off the table. And it's made of this like stainless steel bottom. When you do get it, it does come disassembled, so everything comes separate. Like you'll have to put this piece onto that piece and this, but it's not that hard. You literally just kind of like twist it on. But anyway, and then this, I don't know if you guys can see there, but it's not even making a noise. It's super smooth, and exactly as you see it turning here, it might not turn as fast when you have a cake on here, but it's very smooth. So definitely worth investing in. And let me show you the final thing that I think is worth investing in. Now, the final thing that I think is worth investing in, whether you're doing it, like I said in the beginning, if you're doing it as a hobby or more for like a business, or if you're making a lot of cookies, a lot of cakes, I really think it's worth investing on a stand mixer. It doesn't have to be a KitchenAid, but just a stand mixer alone. And definitely my props to the people that do this by hand or that actually use one of those handheld mixers, but it's very hard. So if you have one of these and you need to cream butter, you can literally just throw it in, plug it, and turn it on and walk away and do something else in between. It's really made my life a lot easier when making cakes or cookies or like big batches of something when you have a stand mixer, because essentially the way that it works is it literally stands on its own. You turn it on and it'll start spinning on its own. So it's kind of like having an extra hand in the kitchen without really having anyone there. That sounds a little weird, but that's kind of the way that I see it. So it's kind of like a helping hand without actually having someone there. Usually, I think this mixer is probably since 2012, so maybe like 6 years old, and it still hasn't, broken down or anything. So it's worth the investment. I think now they probably run about $300 or $400. I'm not quite sure. The only thing that is wrong with it or that is different is that the off button to the stir it just kind of like doesn't stop anymore. So with a little flinch, it'll just go onto a speed. So if it's plugged in and I accidentally nudge it, it'll turn on. And sometimes it scares me, but other than that, it still works. It's pretty functional. It came with 3 attachments, so the paddle attachment, the whisk attachment, and then the dough hook, which I've used to make cinnamon rolls. This is the attachment that I use the most for cake making. Sometimes I use this when I make my buttercream. It does make it a little bit more airy, or when I'm making meringue for macarons, you know, or just like things that need to be whipped. I know I'm not the best at explaining things, but I really think that these 3 items are worth investing in, or are worth having in your cake arsenal. I don't think that's the word. In your cake inventory, because they'll make your life easier. Like I said, a bench scraper that is tall enough for the height of the cakes that you're making, a rotating turntable. I think that's a little bit redundant, but basically a turntable that is not going to get stuck every time you turn it. So something that is more durable, and a stand mixer. Like I said, that's my personal opinion. They have helped me very much in my cake business, and even in my cake hobbies, or sometimes when I'm just making cakes for family, they're very helpful. And I feel like with time, after you use them for a while, or after you get used to using these items, they are items that you probably will come back and use over and over and over. And these are things that I use every single time that I make cakes. So I really hope that this video was helpful. I will link all these items in the description box below. Don't forget that if you do have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!